Ja, sorry, geen cheers vandaag, maar ik ga het voor jullie doen. De Powerpraat. En vandaag gaan we het niet in het Nederlands doen, want we hebben namelijk een gast. En die komt uit van de andere kant van de plas. Het is een Brit en hij heet Simon Cox. Welkom, Simon.
Hi.
Nice you're here. En natuurlijk Dennis Mons, de wonderspons.
Hoi.
Die is er ook. Dus we schakelen van nu... schakelen over naar Engels. Dus dan hoor je mij heel slecht Engels praten. Je hoeft het niet te zeggen in de comments, want ik weet dat mijn Engels steenkolen is. Dus ja, sorry. Simon, how did we met? Did we go to you or did you go to us?
Oh, what, originally?
Yeah.
How did I get involved with Reshift at all, the parent company? So there was a job posting on LinkedIn because I moved to the Netherlands 2 years ago. And to my great shame, I still don't speak Dutch because you all speak impeccable English. No, you do. And as soon as I start trying to speak Dutch, someone just says, just speak English because you're hurting my ears. And it kind of goes from there, really. But about 18 months ago, I saw an ad on LinkedIn. And my background has been video games, journalism, media for 25 years.
Yeah, you did some awesome brands. One Up.
Oh my God, yeah, One Up managed the whole group that had EGM and One Up in it in the States, launched an Xbox magazine, launched the official Sega Dreamcast magazine in the US way back. Awesome. So for your over 60s audience, they would recognize
Thanks,
that.
Man.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yep.
We're old, dude. And way before that, I was in the UK working on Edge magazine and PC Gamer and stuff like that. So I've been around for a really long time. I've been around.
You started Glixel as well, didn't you?
Yeah, and then eventually Rolling Stone wanted to get into video games. They already covered music and sports and movies. And they saw an opportunity a few years ago to get into the gaming side of things. And they hired myself and my friend John Davison, who'd been around for a really long time as well, and Miguel and Rachel. And we all got together and we did something called Glixel, which survived about a year and a half before the entire thing, Rolling Stone, everything was sold. And so it was all moved. But about the same time I moved here with my wife. So she got a job in Amsterdam. And I was just sitting around like, what am I going to do here? I don't speak the language. I love video games. What am I going to do? And I saw an ad and I looked at Reshift's website and it looked a lot like the places I've worked before. You know, Power Unlimited looked a lot like EGM and so on. And the websites looked a lot like One Up and all the rest of it. And so, I just said, is there any way I can help you guys? And you said, no, get lost. No, you didn't actually. You said now you're going to say get lost. But I just came in and started helping you guys with some just ideas and stuff and strategy and things like that.
Well, we are in the middle of that right now, so all of that is going to come up. But you are here today to talk with us about the next generation of consoles. Yeah.
I mean, it's a fascinating time, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, we're kind of into it now.
Yeah.
We're kind of into it.
It's starting.
E3, Microsoft, they kicked it off.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Well, talking about the consoles, the numbers are getting in. How do you call it?
The sold numbers of consoles.
Nederlands de kwartaalcijfers daarin. So we learned that Sony has shipped 100 million PlayStation 4. That's quite a lot.
Doesn't surprise me. Yeah, that is quite a lot. Yeah.
Well, if we compare that to Xbox, it's a big difference.
It's painful.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
especially in the Netherlands, it's like 90% PlayStation 4 and like 10% Xbox.
Yeah, I still think it's a really strong brand that's still playing off its coolness instead of Xbox, and Switch is a totally different audience. And you can, but still, I mean, the numbers compared to the previous generation are not even comparable. So. It's going to be interesting to see what Sony's going to do next year, next gen.
Yeah, it keeps getting bigger, and I can't remember who it was that said back in the console war days, maybe a generation or two ago, the first to 10 million wins.
Yeah,
which I thought was a sort of interesting way to look at it, and that was certainly true this generation. And I don't know. I feel like it's kind of what's interesting to me is that if you look at everyone's worried that Sony might drop the ball in the transition at this point.
You are worried about that.
Well, I mean, I
you had a hot take about it.
Yeah, I do.
I got it right here. So I'll read it for you.
Yeah.
So here's the thing I think about PlayStation. Should worry about it as it transitions to the next gen games. Particularly service games and open world epics are costing more and more to make and maintain, which means publishers and developers need to maximize revenue, which means they can't limit themselves to one platform. And with next-gen tech party much being the same across all platforms, it's going to make more sense than ever to go multi-platform. At that point, Sony is relying almost solely on their first party to drive console sales and loyalty, which might mean they should be looking at Nintendo for how the model is next 10 years rather than worrying about what Microsoft is doing right now.
Yeah,
that's what you said.
I did. I think there is. I would say first party and also their relationships, especially with Japanese publishers and developers, because I think they're fairly closely intertwined. You know, I think that there's something happening. There's kind of a split happening, which is sort of quite interesting, and everyone's looking at different models. I think, and I feel like Microsoft is very much about like how do we provide services and a platform that just doesn't matter where you are or what device you're on, you can connect to the games that you want to play anywhere you want. So they're kind of going in that direction, and I think that plays to their strengths. Microsoft is a technology company at the end of the day, really, right? If you take Halo out of the equation and maybe Gears and Forza, things start to get a little thin, right? In terms of just pure content that people are really passionate about, that's exclusive to that brand. But then I think if you look at Sony's competence has always been in hardware and content. They bought movie studios, they had the music stuff going on. They've always been really good at that. They're sometimes a little clunky when it comes to the behind the scenes tech. And certainly the world is changing. It's becoming more cloud-based. PlayStation Now wasn't that great, honestly. I played it a couple of times and left it. I don't know whether that's a similar experience that most people have had with the cloud experience. It's the quality of the video would kind of in and out. So I think they're technically on that side, on the complex net code and the things that working with the cloud and all of that. I think they might be a little bit behind Microsoft.
All right.
And we're already to all the subjects at the end, man.
No worries. Let's go. Yeah.
But
yeah. Did we jump in a little bit?
No worries. Let's go. Yeah.
So I think there's sort of a divergence happening. I think Microsoft is going more about we're about the platform and accessing any content anywhere. Whereas PlayStation is more about like, okay, we're going to be a bit more like HBO or something like a movie studio where it's kind of maybe more like Pixar or whatever, or like Nintendo really, which is where we're going to be about our IP, our brands that we can control. You can only get them here. So we're all about a great hardware experience delivering our exclusive games. Yeah. And that's a different thing, right? It feels more like Nintendo or how Nintendo survived over the last few generations when it hasn't always had third-party support. Which it hasn't.
You sales numbers. And when we look at Nintendo, the top...
To explain what these are, first of all,
the top 10 games, top-selling games for the Nintendo Switch are all first-party titles.
Every single one. Yeah.
They're system sellers.
They're system sellers, right? You can't get those anywhere else, and so you have to buy into this ecosystem.
When we look at PlayStation 4 best-selling titles, the top 6 is all third-party. Yeah. Then on number 7 we have Uncharted. Then we have Spider-Man. Yeah. Then we have Call of Duty again, Fallout 4, FIFA, Star Wars. There's only 5 titles in the top 20. There are first-party titles.
Yeah.
So that's worrying.
Yeah, but they also have great relationships, right? So one of the things they did with PS4 was they kind of like, nabbed the... They get deals with like Call of Duty, for example, where they had exclusive content. And Destiny, when that launched... I don't know what it was like here, but certainly in the US, where I was at the time, it felt like a PlayStation exclusive. Yeah. There were people actually saying, wait, is this...
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Right? Yeah. Is this available on Xbox? And I was like, yeah, it totally will be. But all the marketing was PlayStation. All of the branding, all of the messaging. So they have these strong relationships, and they're going to have to sort of plug those two things together. They've also been, I think, kind of fortunate with Horizon Zero Dawn, which is they created a new big IP, and they've revitalized an old one in God of War. So they actually have a decent war chest of IP going into this next generation. But it's going to have to expand.
What they also have is the PlayStation 4 right now, which is a huge marketing platform. They have, they have their own store. They can advertise the new platform. Hey, you need to jump on the PlayStation 5 because we have this, and this.
Yeah. Well, and to their credit, I mean, Sony has never really lost a console war, apart from I think the Wii was the only time, right, where they got beat. So the transition between the transition to PlayStation 1, they beat Sega, they beat Saturn, right? And then PlayStation 2, nobody bought a Dreamcast because everybody was waiting for PlayStation 2, and they won that one comprehensively. I mean, that was 100 million sell of the PS2, wasn't it? I think they got to that number. And then in the third, with PS3, they fumbled at the beginning, but the totals by the end they had won. They beat the Xbox, but of course the Wii beat everybody. Even though no one was playing it at that point because everybody bought it. It was this big toy thing, and then there were more Wiis in cupboards, I think, than there were underneath televisions.
There still are.
Still are, yeah. Every cupboard has a Wii somewhere. Has a Wii somewhere in it. I'm not saying that they're going to lose, quote unquote, the next generation, because I think it's actually a different game now. It's something has really shifted where it's not about winning anymore. It feels like it's about getting communities and fandoms around what you do, and then doing interesting stuff with that, with making more money out of them, essentially. And I think it's sort of changing a bit, that model.
And who's doing that pretty good right now? Is that Nintendo or Sony or Microsoft?
I wish we had more figures on what Microsoft is up to. They got a bit shy once things started to go wrong on the Xbox One front. And
what do you think went wrong on the Xbox One front? Just marketing, or?
God, I mean, you guys were there too, right? We remember that.
Oh, it was
dreadful.
It was a terrible launch.
February 2013.
Yeah,
Don Matrick, the insurance salesman, all get up and start trying to sell you a TV.
In the press conference,
It was just a terrible launch. I mean, technically it was a terrible launch as well, because you always had to be online. There was this camera spying on you. The launch titles were not that good. It was just everything went wrong for Microsoft. Everything. And it was still, and now, oddly enough, it's becoming that type of machine again, but it was still a very media-based device. So Microsoft still didn't gave up on the whole idea of the Xbox 360 being like the media hub of your home. And people were just going like, I just want a gaming machine. And
I mean, I think what gamers had sensed was that they were already giving up on games a little bit.
Sort of, kind of,
towards the end of 360, because there was a lot of, Connectimals and all of... I think what happened is with the 360 is that Microsoft had looked at the Wii, which was kicking everybody's ass at the time, and they said, okay, that's a valid market. And we, Kinect is our way into that. We're going to get families in front of the television, and we're going to steal some of that mainstreaming, right, of the pie. And they kind of went for that towards the end of the 360's lifespan. So they didn't have a good kind of run into the next generation. And so that press conference in 2013 was really just confirmed everyone's worst fears, which was that Microsoft wasn't in the business of hardcore gaming anymore, of core gaming, I guess you would say now.
When we look at the last E3, it just talked about, hey, let's do video games. We're not going to do the TV thing anymore. Yeah, sure, you can watch Netflix on our device, but we're purely there for video games. Is that
yeah. I mean, look, you have to learn from your mistakes. I think it would be a tough sell to go back to Microsoft at this point after that disaster that they had. I mean, it cost Don Matrick his job, right? He went to Zynga. You can't make that mistake again. Clearly, games are important. They had the last couple of E3s now, Microsoft's been all about how many games can we announce on stage in one go. It was a great press conference at E3. They had it all to themselves. I feel like Sony handed them a win. When you're so far out in front, maybe you can let the competition catch up a little bit or get some more breath in their lungs.
I think this is not the right time for them to do that.
But it's a risk though.
It's a very big risk. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's so much coming up technology-wise as well. New players on the market. It would be very unwise for Sony to just go like, no, we can just let it slide a bit. I think the titles that are coming up are nice and big, but they're, again, are they going to sell more PS4s while we're on the brink of launching PS5? I don't know, man. Next E3 is going to be the most interesting E3 ever.
Yeah, I mean, by next E3, we'll know more about where the Switch has come out, because the Lite could set fire even more to sales numbers for the Switch. It could take off in a way that, I mean, it's already fast, right?
Yeah.
We could be looking at sort of like 60 million, 70 million Switch installed base by next E3.
Yeah.
Possibly even more, because, if you look at how fast the DS sold, for example, and now we have a handheld version. Here's what I was thinking this morning. I was like, hey, you know what I really want? I actually would love a hockey puck Switch that's not portable, has no screen, that I just, like my Apple TV, right?
Oh, right,
And I just get a controller in the box with my little mini console, because the tech is so small.
You pretty much want Google Stadia.
Yeah.
Well, no, what if I'm...
You want to play Nintendo
I want my little hockey puck, it doesn't have a screen. They could knock the Switch out with no screen and just HDMI and a connection to a controller.
Yeah.
For what, 129, 149?
Yeah.
Google Stadia.
It's Google Stadia, right?
You can't play Nintendo games on Google
that's
Stadia,
the only,
right?
That's the only difference.
Because that's Nintendo. You don't.
So what do you think about the Switch Lite?
I think it's really cool. I was scratching my head about the lack of
switching.
The fact that it doesn't do that. Like everybody, I think.
Yeah.
I just, when you get something cool, your first question is like, but can't you add? Can I have this? Can I have some more of this cake, please? This is delicious cake. Can I have some more? Look, it looks awesome. I'm probably going to get one actually, because I find it a bit clunky. The full,
got the same thing.
Super clunky. But I am scratching my head about no HDMI out. I think that must have been a space-saving thing or a power thing, or then they would have had to do kind of some power differences.
I don't know why they did it.
I don't know. Weird, right?
Yeah.
I don't think it's a technology thing, because you've got the tiniest devices that fit in a USB stick that you can just plug into your HDMI port. I think they really try to emphasize that this is their new handheld. This is sort of kind of their new 3DS. This will only do handheld. This is for your kids.
There won't be.
They won't break.
A 3DS 2.
You don't want your kids to play on your TV because you're watching Netflix.
Right.
You're gonna get them a no HDMI.
Yeah. No, I get it. I would have loved. That would have been kind of the perfect gaming console, in my opinion, at that point. If it was an absolutely incredible handheld, and I could have just sat it down, plugged in, just had the Pro controller plug in and just be like, done. Like, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
Well, with all the streaming devices are coming up, we have Google Stadia, we just tried Shadow, we have some more services coming up. Isn't Nintendo in trouble? Because I can play with my Xbox controller on my telephone every game I want to play right now.
Yeah, maybe, but I mean, what's troubling everyone right now is the same thing, and it's Fortnite.
Yeah.
If you ask any of the executives at game companies, like, what keeps them awake at night, it's Fortnite. That's what they're worried about. There's only so much attention that people can give in an evening, and if they're either playing Fortnite, and if they're not playing it, they're watching someone play it. There's not a lot of room for these big games that require hours and hours of play in order for these companies to profit from microtransactions and in-app purchases, right? So it's kind of like, okay, games are shifting to this thing where we have to get money out of you for years. That requires your attention. And there's this thing over here, Fortnite, that's grabbing everyone's attention. And we're in this, you hear this phrase, attention economy, right? And all of that, which is sort of a marketing buzzword or whatever. But it's true. It's like there's a limited amount of attention we all have. And I think that's what's keeping these guys up at night, is that they're all building games that require you to be loyal to them for a year.
Yeah.
To pay for themselves.
Yeah, so Nintendo, Microsoft, and Sony aren't maybe looking to each other, but to companies like Epic, what they're doing with Fortnite.
Well, Epic's almost acting like Nintendo at the moment, in that they've created a cultural moment, which is something that Nintendo is always capable of doing. Like, I feel like Sony with PlayStation's always been capable of creating a cultural moment through the brand PlayStation, but not necessarily through its games exactly. Like, its IP has never been quite at that level. Whereas you've had Pokemania, in the 90s, and then again, kind of like 2 years ago with Pokemon Go.
Even Zelda, Mario. So recognizable as well.
Right. And that's sort of what's going on with Fortnite as well. Like, people just talking about it in the playground. They're kind of buying the backpacks. They're like,
it's
a different
now.
Right. It's everywhere.
Did you see the World Cup last weekend?
I didn't see it. I'm not a Fortnite player, so I don't have a clue. Whenever I watch a Fortnite stream I watch it for like 10 minutes, and I'm like, okay, I think I know what's going on because it looks like just a shooter. But then everyone's building things, and I'm like, well, what's the point of building that right there and then jumping out of it? Why wouldn't you stay in it and make a cup of tea? So I don't really know. Like, I'm kind of, maybe creative mode is more where I should be looking at, which I think they did. They did actually have prizes for that, didn't they, at the competition? Yeah. So that was just crazy to me. $3 million. Was that? The winner?
That was the number one
Booga?
On Sunday. Solo player, and on Saturday they had the co-opt, and a Dutch guy won.
He came in second. But
oh, okay.
That's still pretty good, though, right? Second, I guess is.
He's a millionaire right now.
You're now a millionaire.
Both got $1 million.
Yeah.
He's 21 years old.
Yeah. You know what I thought was really cute? He gets second in the World Cup of Fortnite. He wins $1 million. He complains about that there weren't enough computers provided by Epic Games to practice. And then he sweetly said, I think I have enough money to buy a good gaming laptop. And I went like, man, you've got to have like Asus, Acer, everybody.
You're never going to have to buy
anything again. That was so cute.
Yeah.
But yeah, insane amounts of money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absurd, yeah. It's echt, Anyway, everybody's looking at Fortnite right now, but we're going to talk about the next generation of consoles. So what do you think is going to be happening the next couple of years with the Sonys and the PlayStation and the Nintendo? You have a big list of notes?
I sort of sat down yesterday and I was like, okay, I'm going to try and get my head around where all this is going. And I couldn't. I just made lots of notes, which is sort of something that I always do, which is I just wind up with pages of notes and then no real conclusion, which is pretty much how my brain works. So I don't know, man. I feel like Nintendo, I always like looking at things in terms of like analogs. Like I said, I feel like Sony's model is more like Nintendo, but they're also kind of, on one hand, they're kind of more like an HBO, right? Where they're going to be all about like 3 or 4 strong brands to drive loyalty, right? Mm-hmm. Like when HBO launched their kind of digital app, it was all about, kind of like, Game of Thrones, right? It was in tune with that, and that drove people's sign-ups and it kept them signed up. So I feel like that's the way they're moving, right? I think Microsoft, like we talked about earlier, I think they have a bit of a trickier situation. Like I don't feel like the studios that they bought have IP that will sell consoles. Yeah. I mean,
but they have Game Pass.
Arguably, but they have Game Pass, which is a fantastic idea. Is Sony responding to that? Is there a? No. They're going to have to, aren't they?
PlayStation Plus.
You have PlayStation Plus. You get 2 games for free, but you get it also with Xbox Live. Of course.
That's more Games with Gold. That's kind of like that's exactly. Sort of equivalent to that.
Game Pass, you have almost you have new games there. You have
it's insane. They launch games on Game Pass, which is really weird. They just go like, okay, here's our latest title, and you can play it now.
Yeah,
and it works.
Yeah, and you have Game Pass Plus, of course, so you can play it on PC as well.
Yeah,
that's brilliant.
So you've got hundreds of titles you can just pick up and play, which I think is brilliant. Yeah. And combine that with xCloud, and you can pretty much just be on a train, play the games on your phone or on the iPad or.
So is that the way the world's going to go? Are they going to be the subscribers, the people who will pay every month in order to have, a large selection of games? Yeah. And then there's going to be the more kind of like, okay, I'm really attached to the PlayStation brand. I love God of War. I love Horizon Zero Dawn. I'm gonna, this is the Ueda's stuff. Like I really Eco. Like I love these brands, this IP, this intellectual property. Kind of like a Nintendo fan, and I know I can only get it here, and so this is the console that I require to play. Yeah. I mean, I think maybe that's the way it's divided. It's gonna go. You have Stadia and Xbox, and you just talked about Shadow.
Shadow, yeah. Which is I just learned about it a couple of days ago. Yeah. It's also a streaming service, but it works differently. So when you have Stadia or xCloud, you log into a server and they stream games to you. Yeah. But with Shadow, you log into a computer, your own dedicated PC, your own dedicated gaming PC with gaming hardware in there with a GPU and stuff.
It's in the cloud though, this PC. It's not your PC, but it's assigned to you.
Yeah, it's assigned to you, and you log into it, and you see a Windows desktop. And you can install your games on that PC.
So you can install Word or whatever you want.
You can edit videos on it. You can Photoshop on it. You can install games. So yesterday I played Apex Legends on it with a mouse on my MacBook that doesn't run Apex, and it worked seamless. We are on shitty Wi-Fi right now. Yeah, and it worked seamless.
So what's the specs they claim to have in the PCs you play on?
I don't know. I have to look it up, but it worked, man.
Nice.
See if you can load Witcher 3 on like max settings and then do a frame rate test on it. That would be interesting to do. I'd love to know where they're at with their technology because. Yeah, I mean that's fairly basic stuff though, right? But they've done it well, which is that it's really just this remote PC idea. Didn't Steam have that as well? Couldn't you?
You can use the NVIDIA Shield, for example, and play on devices like that.
Right.
And, pretty much.
But there's no reason for me anymore to buy a big gaming PC laptop kind of thing.
This is going to
just use my MacBook to play the game I want to play.
So if streaming takes off, the biggest losers might be anyone who makes gaming laptops. Yep. They're really going to be in trouble.
Yep. Hardware guys. Yeah. They were really worried. A day after Google Stadia had their first presentation, there was somebody from MSI here, and I asked him, so how did everybody respond at MSI? And they went just like, this could be trouble. This could be trouble.
Yeah, we're all very carefully looking at our contracts.
Yeah,
right. Exactly.
Yeah, because why do you want to upgrade? Why do you want to go from a 1060 video card, graphics card to a 2080, which costs like $8,500 or whatever, when you can just keep that service going, and every time a new card comes out, you get it.
Well, and NVIDIA doesn't care because they're still selling cards. They're just selling them into the cloud, right?
Yeah.
They're going to be stuck in these blades in these giant warehouses.
At a certain point, most video cards were sold to miners, to data miners. So not data miners,
Bitcoin miners.
Bitcoin miners.
Yeah. So there was.
I saw one of those here. I remember the first time I came here, I went into somebody's office and there was like this.
Paul got one.
Yeah, right. One of the executives here was into this Bitcoin mining, and I was like, holy shit, that's a lot of graphics cards. What are you doing? And he said, I'm mining Bitcoins. And I was like, I don't know. Okay. And he's like, I was like, so what's it doing? And he says, it's just processing. Yeah. And then eventually I might get a Bitcoin. And I'm like, a Bitcoin? He's like, yeah, a Bitcoin. How often? He's like, don't know. And I'm like, this is strange. I don't understand any of this. Things got tight for a while there, right?
Yeah. And NVIDIA has no problem at all because there's still people using cards for that, and there's going to be people using cards for server parks and virtual PCs for people to stream.
Well, Google Stadia, I mean, they must be thinking to themselves, okay, we're going to start bringing out some slightly cooler looking, Chromebooks. because you know, now we've got a gamer audience, quote unquote. What do they like? They like neon lights and stuff.
Yeah, they're probably going to do that. But does Google Stadia? Oh, does Google know what they want to do with Stadia? I still have no clue what Google Stadia. I know what it is, but I don't know what they want to do with it.
It's something. There was something. I remember. I'm trying to think what it was that bothered me about the Stadia announcement. And so whenever I see Phil Harrison, I'm thinking to myself, wait, who's he talking about now? Who's he representing now? Because of course he's been everywhere, right? So was he on stage for the Xbox?
Could be.
Yeah, I mean, so when you've
seen him everywhere.
He's not the best pitch man. And whenever I see him, I kind of want to go to sleep.
True.
He's obviously a very competent guy. He's done very well in the industry. He's been around a long time. He was at PlayStation. I think he was at Microsoft, and now he's here. But he's not, particularly...
he doesn't have pizzazz.
He doesn't have much pizzazz, no. He's not a salesman. And so at the end of it, I think everyone was sort of scratching their heads a bit and saying, well, why should I care? And I think that's the bit that they've got to... I mean, Microsoft had to overcome this same problem with Xbox.
Yo, definitely.
Which was, wait, the Excel spreadsheet people,
Bill Gates coming on stage.
Bill Gates. They had Bill Gates unveil it, and it was just, Xbox, I just remember being like, oh God.
That was awkward.
That was awkward because
the Xbox, okay.
Anything with him is awkward. But it just looked lame, right? It looked huge and ungainly, and you could just hear Japan, turning away. The entire country just going laughing and sort of turning away. So I don't know. I kind of think they have a problem, which is that it's Google's such a generic brand.
Yeah.
It's not something we really care about.
It's even a brand we're a bit scared about.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's
that
true.
Doesn't help
with data. We trust them.
Yeah, and they're known for killing projects.
Yeah,
right.
So Google Glass. What's the Google Hangouts? So if you buy a game,
is still there, but
still there. What was the other one?
Just no one uses
or
it.
something shitty.
It was Google Plus, right? Which was the social network.
Yeah. Oh, right. That was amazing. No.
Yeah.
But so do you have a problem if you buy your games with Google? Because you got to buy the games, right? You can get a Plus service and and then you can get like 4K, but you can use it for free as well. But you need to buy the games.
Well, people have been buying games from Google though for a long time, right? With Android, so
that's true. But Android is not very likely to get killed, right?
No, and there's all kinds of problems with Android, right? Like people always you talk to developers and they're like, people can sideload our games. They can kind of get around copy protection. There are issues with every time we upload something to the App Store with Apple, we make 10 times the amount of money because the audience has more money. They're more engaged. It gets pirated less. It's more secure. All of these issues sort of floating around games and Google for a while on the mobile side have been sort of conveniently ignored in the conversation about Stadia. But I think you're right. They're not just because they're Google doesn't mean they can get everything right.
No, true. And if they stop the service, do you lose your games? How are they going to solve the problem?
Right. And so then it's
and it goes, of course. It's the same for like the Sony and the PlayStations because you buy everything digital. So if they take it offline, which has happened to a couple of games, they've been taken offline, albeit by accident or not, and they had to re-upload it, and then some people were allowed to play it because officially the games weren't on sale anymore, so they made them ridiculously
the devastated
expensive.
Warhawk community, they're still crying.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So so there's always the risk that you lose your digital stuff. But I think, and there are a lot of people still out there that really like their physical games, but I think we will be laughed at in about 20 years' time when kids will just go like, why would you need a box for this shit?
Well, yeah, I think you're right. But I also think that when you buy a game through, PlayStation Store, for example, you're still buying it from Ubisoft or Sony or whoever, but
they're not even yours. You're sort of kind of renting.
Yeah, I mean and I think we kind of understand that a little bit. But I also think that it's going to be down to the publishers and the developers and the makers of the games to store that information that we have paid for this, and there's a license on record.
Yeah.
So it vanishes from Stadia.
That would be nice.
That's where we need to get to. Is that sort of like, look, it's not the platform that you're not buying just a license for the game on this platform. You're buying a license for the game. Period.
That
everywhere,
would be
right?
so nice.
And you know, Ubisoft has that. They have the technology through Uplay to connect stuff to your account, and you know, there's no reason why if you stopped playing, you know, if Stadia went away, you couldn't just say, okay, I'm just going to download this on the PlayStation. But then of course Sony's going to be like, well, if you want to download this, that's using our data, and we're not getting any money for this. So then you get into this whole like, okay, does Ubisoft pay Sony for the fact that you have to re-download it onto your PlayStation?
It's never going to happen.
It's just right. And then what's going to happen there? And crossplay is a great example of where, you know, Sony gets a little bit. I think the crossplay thing is worth talking about for a minute, because I think that's one of the areas where you can sort of look at Sony and say, okay, this looks like the hubris they had coming from PS2 to PS3, which was like, we're going to charge more money for it and people will pay it. We're going to talk about entertainment, not games, and no one's going to care. They're just going to think it's cool. Like all of these assumptions that they made between PS2 and PS3 that cost them dearly. I mean, it took them 6 years to overtake the Xbox 360 after that disastrous, overpriced late launch, right? The worry is that they might make those mistakes again, because they're in the catbird seat. They're the winners so far of this console generation. If you don't add Wii U and Switch together as the 8th generation, anyway, that's a separate conversation. But yeah, Nintendo has ruined the whole generations thing. But with crossplay, I really do think it wasn't just a business decision. I really do wonder whether it's about their technology on the back end, just not being able to plug in and to connect the way that Microsoft's can, for example.
I think there were a couple of developers that complained about it, that they really wanted to try out how to get crossover working, and it worked just perfectly fine with the Xbox, even with PC. Yeah. And they just could not figure out how to do it on the PlayStation because Sony doesn't help. They literally don't help developers to.
Yeah, they don't. And I think what they would have done with Fortnite, for example, is they would have just sort of got a team and said, go fix that, hook it up, like manually. You know, go and write the code that makes this work, because we don't have that code working anyway, in any other way. That's my suspicion. I know everyone likes to bag on Sony a little bit and say, oh, it's just about money, and of course it is, but I think it might also be about their technology pipeline not being quite up to snuff. And I've heard that from a couple of people who have been on the tech side at Sony. So that they have a lot of old code, they have a lot of issues, and they're constantly, it's kind of like the website stuff here, you know, you're always kind of like trying to make things like just not break today. Yeah, right, exactly. You know, it's kind of, you're supposed to like Ghostbusters, you know, like every day. Yeah, sorry. Trauma. But yeah, it's so I feel like there's that to think about too, which is that Sony are just not very good at playing with others. That's true. Mentally they're not, but I think that also technically maybe they're not quite as you know, working with the same kind of standards and open formats and all the rest of it and technology that everybody else is working with.
All right. Well, talking about Sony and Xbox is jumping on the streaming stuff with xCloud. Google Stadia is streaming. What will PlayStation do? Aren't they missing the boat?
No. Well, it's really telling that they are renting Microsoft servers now in the Azores, or they're called the Azores. They're not literally in the Azores. Although there might be one.
It might be. There might be one. You know, some sort of weird tax loophole that they've identified. Yeah.
So they're not going to give up on streaming. I think that the whole Play Anywhere thing was they've pretty much kicked it off, really, with being able to play on your PSP wherever you are. So they already had the vision. They just sort of kind of left it, and you know, Nintendo doesn't even bother. Couldn't care less.
Well, if they have some sort of Game Pass type functionality, and of course they have their entire back catalogue, you know, PlayStation, that's a pretty compelling reason to pay however many. What would you guys pay a month here that would be acceptable? 10
I don't know,
euro?
7 to 10,
7 to 10. 10's probably where it tops out, maybe. And if you could play that on your phone and wherever you are. That would be.
It's going to be a jungle with all the subscriptions we're going to have in like a couple of years.
Yeah,
you're going to have your Netflix, you're going to have your Amazon Prime, you're going to have your PlayStation Plus,
Disney Plus,
your Disney Plus, Xbox Live, HBO. Damn.
I think it's going to be a real big problem when it comes to people in debt as well, because you feel like it's not much, and you just take one after the other service, and they just take the money out of your bank account, and you get spoiled, and it's all fine and dandy, but you never really pay for anything, so you don't have much like real world control over that stuff. I think it's going to get a lot of people in trouble. To be honest.
I think you might be right. I wonder with people like with Ubisoft and EA where they're going to have these all-you-can-eat subscription services.
Yeah.
And their games have microtransactions.
Yeah.
So then it's sort of like they're double dipping, right? So with Ubisoft, with Uplay Plus, I'm not sure what the deal is with this, but if they add, for example, a game like Odyssey, I know I can sort of have pay to win mechanics in that game.
Yeah.
Not pay to win, but I can kind of give myself experience and the rest of it if I want to. The first game I ever did that with, by the way, I did with Odyssey. I'll tell you about that in a minute because it was interesting to me how they did that.
Cool.
But so I'm paying for Uplay Plus every month, and then I'm going in and I'm playing Odyssey, and then I'm like, okay, I'm getting to the part of the game where they deliberately slow everything down.
Yeah.
There's sort of a dead spot between level 25 and 35 in that game, where, you can't advance the story until you go off and grind for a bit.
I hate that.
And of course, you can do that, or we can sell you some XP if you want, an XP booster. And of course, you wander around for a few hours and you're like, you know what, this is going really slowly because I'm not completing the big quests that are part of the main storyline, so I'm not getting the XP that would ramp me quickly. So you go and you do it. And I did actually pay for that because I was just kind of like, life's too short.
Yeah. Yes.
So they're going to double dip? Am I going to have my subscription and they're going to get me to pay for that?
Yeah.
Because they're not going to change the game.
Nope.
No.
You probably are going to.
Or do I get some credits, quote unquote, when I'm part of Uplay Plus that I can spend?
Probably not. Nope.
So so we're all going to pay more for everything, basically. The way it's going.
It sounds like we don't pay more for everything, and then there's of course this experiment. I'm not even sure if it's still running in the US, but you could rent your Xbox One. You could just rent an Xbox One, as in like you pay for it, but you pay on a monthly fee. But you get Game Pass, and which was really interesting, there was no profit on the amount of money you would have paid if you bought it new. So they take the services, they take the price of the console, they split it over 2 years. That's your monthly fee, and the console's yours after the 2 years.
You think that's what they're going to do?
No, they actually tried it out in the US. I
don't remember that.
Yeah,
really?
I'm not even sure if it's still. I can look it up. Maybe I can. I'm not sure if it's still there, but they.
That makes total sense to me. That why wouldn't you look at what's happened, since 2007 in the smartphone world?
Yeah, exactly.
And just say
that's the model.
Okay, these things are expensive.
Yeah.
Let's let's find a model that makes people feel like they can get in on the ground floor. And not have to wait to save up 300 or 400 euro.
Yeah.
I don't know. The future is we're all paying more for everything. Who was it that said PlayStation 3? They said you should get a second job. Was it Sony that actually said that? Somebody mentioned. Somebody said something. I remember. Where they were like, you kind of need to get a second job.
But
like,
we
go get
only
one.
have so much time. We only can get. I in the evening I get home. I put the kids to bed, and I'm what should I do? Should I play Apex, or should I watch some Netflix, or should I check out YouTube? There's only so many time.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's. I guess that's where Stadia might be interesting though, because if your natural instinct is to play a game or to watch YouTube, now you can kind of
do the same thing.
You can kind of be watching YouTube and then jump into somebody's game. If they make that stuff work, that stuff I do find fascinating. This idea that I can, jump into somebody's game from a video, from a save point that can be shared with me. So, like, if my sister's playing the same game I am and she gets stuck, she can give me a save game and I'll just jump in.
Yeah, just send a link over.
It's going to be, if this takes off, this takes off, and it has to, because you need to pay for the service at least once. You have to get the controller, right?
Yeah. No. You can play with any controller. You can use your Xbox controller or your PlayStation controller.
The thing is, you're right. By the way, I remember now what I was trying to tell you. When we were watching the Google Stadia presentation, we thought it would be like a gaming service. You just pay an amount of money and you can play any game you want. So it would have been super interesting for streamers to just go like, okay, I'm going to challenge you viewers with this level and try and beat it. And we just went like, oh, that would be so cool. Then we can play games and we can challenge her. But the people that are watching have to own the game as well. Yeah. So it sounded better than it actually is.
Do you have to own it though? Because or can they unlock a piece of it? So to take
that would be ideal.
To take your streamer example, right? Let's say I'm Ubisoft and I want more people to play, the next Assassin's Creed, right? I could go to the streamer and Stadia and say, I'm going to do this thing where the streamer plays it. There's a save that everyone can play, and everyone can play till they complete that level, and that's all free because that will happen. That's going to happen, right? That kind of stuff is going to become pretty common with Stadia. You're right. You don't need the Stadia controller, but the Stadia controller has the least latency, right? Yeah. Because it connects directly
through.
It doesn't go through your address. It's actually a kind of a router itself.
Exactly. Yeah. And it has the what you call it button. Alexia. Alexa. Yeah. So if you're like stuck in a game, you can just say, "Help me get out of this level," and then
it's like Siri for.
Oh, it's listening. Yeah. That's terrifying.
Yeah. Nah, it's Google.
it's fine.
Don't worry about it. So
wasn't that what bothered everybody about Kinect? It was like, wait a minute.
Yeah, there's a camera in my room.
Yeah. Didn't they just take that out?
Yeah.
Didn't they just take the Cortana has just been removed from...
Kinect is done as well.
Yeah.
I mean, Kinect's been, I guess, done for a while, but the Cortana thing was interesting, the fact that it's not sort of able to do that. I do wonder if that has accessibility issues for some people, though, who might have been using that to communicate or with the...
They probably came out with a couple of devices for that, because Microsoft is also well known for its adaptive controller, which is for people with a disability. So.
Which was so cool, by the way. That was...
Oh, it's awesome.
That's an example, again, of them always sort of thinking, about how can we evolve things in interesting ways. Yeah. But it's not going to sell you a console necessarily for you, right, for the masses, and or attach you to a particular game. But it is serving a need.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah. It's really good. So, how does PC gaming fit in all of this? Because we have... probably going to have a new PlayStation. We're going to have a new Xbox.
Yeah, and they're all going to have the latest specs. They've got the ray tracing. They've got the 8K, big RAM. Everything might even be the last generation. Backwards compatibility, well, PCs as well, obviously. Strength-wise, console's going to be one step behind. But here's your Shadow service. And here's Stadia.
It's PC gaming, of course, Shadow.
Yeah.
Well, I guess the question then is, what is PC gaming? Because...
What is PC gaming?
Is it owning a PC in your house?
Pretty much.
Is it playing PC-only games through Steam, perhaps?
Well, PC-only, I wouldn't say PC-only.
There are not mostly
that many PC-only games, and they're a certain genre.
There's a lot on Steam that aren't available on anything else. Yeah. Right?
A lot of indie games.
A lot of indie games. Yeah, sure. Okay. Yeah. But do people buy a gaming PC, like a gaming PC for their indie games? I don't think so.
Well, I think if you want...
Probably VR.
For esports, it'll probably still be the platform of choice, right? And if 8K... 8K is going to become a thing. If you want to play a game in 8K, if it's even built in 8K... you're going to need a PC, aren't you? Because, even the Xbox One X can't do 60 frames a second 4K.
No, but 8K is announced now on PS5 and Project Scarlet.
But 8K's got to be that's got to be a movie thing, right? Or a TV.
That's what we said from the Xbox at first. It's just the Blu-rays, and then the Xbox One X came out, and then we could play 4K native.
I would be happy if I've got a machine that can do 4K 60 frames a second.
Yeah, everybody wants
I think at that point,
I would be happy.
Old eyes, my old brain. That's about as good as I think I probably need it to be.
Last week I saw a video of Linus Tech Tips, who was building an 8K gaming screen. It wasn't working, and he got it to work, and he didn't saw the difference between 4K and 8K. You just don't see it.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. What would...
I'm not sure.
Did he do? No, he did 4K, 60 frames a second. I don't know.
Yeah.
The screen need to be your entire wall for
Yeah,
you
yeah.
really to see the difference at that
Yeah,
point.
we've gotten to that
Like
point,
4
though.
screens of
We've gotten to that point, though. We've gotten to that point again because we had there was the full HD 1080p people just going like 4K. Really, you see the difference between 4K, full HD is just fine. So
our eyes are going to adjust.
Yeah.
I
assume we
might be.
people say that the step from SD to HD was huge. The step from
it was insane.
1080 to 4K is huge again, but the step from 4K to 8K is just
sounds about right.
Yeah, just a little.
It's getting more and more incremental.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know about the future of PC gaming. I guess, like I say, I feel like it's kind of an esports play, and also just like the crazy tech, like max settings versions of games where you just, you
want to show off what your ray tracing.
Yeah, whatever the next card is that has all that stuff built in it.
Yeah.
Right.
I really wonder about the future of gaming, because now it's still quite predictable, even though there are new players stepping in like Google with Stadia and of course Shadow and services like that. But at a certain point, you can go beyond 8K. You can go beyond strength.
What should they do?
What
do you want?
Well, no, I feel like the real risk to the future of gaming, if you like, and there's different angles from that, right? But one angle is the industry angle, which is that if the way to go these days seems to be to spend $100 to $200 million producing a software as service game, then you're in that attention game again, right? Where and there's only so many subscriptions people will, or how much they'll spend a month on gaming, right? So that's what's going to start to limit the games industry. It's going to be, how many games are there? How much are we paying every month to play them?
Yeah.
And when they fail, do they take down publishers? Because, when you place a bet, that's 100, 150, 200 million dollars and you don't get it back, that's putting a serious strain on the financial resources of your company.
Yeah.
So I think that's what I worry about. I kind of worry about that if the only way to really succeed in gaming at this point is to have one of these giant titles be a success and have people play it for at least 2 or 3 years to make your money back. How many of those can the industry sustain? How many can we play? How many can be successful? And what happens when the bottom falls out of that market somehow, or a few of them drop out and take some pretty storied developers or publishers with them? That's a threat.
Yeah.
Seems to me.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah. I'm just here to make everybody feel like we're doomed, by the way. That's my...
I know
I'm from a country that's leaving the EU, so I have this doom feeling.
I don't think so. I do think there are going to be a lot more new players in the market, like a Google, like a company you don't expect it from. And I think immersion will be one of the biggest things that we can expect in the upcoming next 20, 25 years. The whole way
VR or AR? Or do you mean
AR, VR, even further than that. I think technology and connectivity with your senses in the human brain, I think that's going to be a big one. I wonder if we will see worlds like Ready Player One and Her and Existence and
probably.
Yeah, Ready Player One, but not shit would be.
That would be nice.
Yeah, that was terrible.
Well, it looked great though.
That was terrible.
But it was a terrible movie.
That was
I
awful.
hated it.
That was so bad.
Sorry, people.
Yeah.
No, but I think immersion will be. I think that's where the next step.
It looked like the rendered intro to a game I never want to play.
That's a good.
That's what it looked like for 2
hours.
But
it did on purpose, though.
Yeah.
It wanted to look fake-ish because it was game-ish.
You've read the book, right?
No.
Okay.
No, sorry.
So the book is entertaining,
but it's not very well written.
No, it's not. And if you try and read it again, you kind of feel a bit embarrassed that you even liked it in the first place.
Yeah.
Because if you weren't alive during that time, during the 80s, that's what gives it a pass, really.
Yeah.
I think, is the fact that it really presses all of those Dungeons and Dragons and Commodore 64 gaming buttons.
Agreed.
Yeah. I'm old enough to remember those.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, let's round this up. So when we look at the next couple of years, Nintendo is probably gonna come with a Switch Pro.
Could be.
Could be.
Yeah, would be a wise
I mean,
move.
this sort of constant evolution thing might be their way they go.
Upgrade the current Switch.
Yeah, you got to think that but they don't like to split their market, right? They're not.
Play
I don't know they would jump that far ahead.
Tell all the Nintendo DSs.
Yeah, they're more likely to have more technology than they use. You know, they're more likely to have like a Switch Pro where, you know, when you take it apart and look at it, it could do all this crazy stuff, and they actually don't let you do it because they don't want people to feel like they shouldn't have bought the earlier one or whatever. Right? That's so Nintendo.
Yeah.
Like,
That's very Nintendo,
right? But you realize, oh god, it could do all these things. I wonder technically where they're going, like with their next, because they went with Tegra, they went with NVIDIA, which was a big step, and then I think it's kind of where next technically. I think they like having a lot of these, you know, third-party engines like Unity and Unreal. They're working with Unreal themselves at Nintendo, right? I think they like the fact that this is making it easy for third parties to come to their platform. Yeah. And that has not always been the case.
But do you see them going to AMD? Because, you know, Scarlett is AMD, PlayStation 5 is AMD. There's only NVIDIA.
You know what? It would be kind of awesome if they did. The awesome part about it would, of course, be that, you know, third parties can kind of create a game, and there are basically 5 different technical flavors. There's the there's the Stadia, right? It just scales up and it scales down for whatever Nintendo is doing, and you're perfectly happy because it's portable or whatever, and you're good. That could be pretty cool. When everyone's on this sort of like level playing field of basically PC technology, you know, which is the Switch is ARM, right? It's an ARM processor with a Tegra X1. Yeah, it's not sort of like
not sure.
Yeah, so it's not a PC based architecture, but Unity and Unreal run on it, and so a lot of these games can be kind of easily kind of converted. I guess Bethesda must use the id Tech must be obviously fine with ARM because Wolfenstein looks pretty good. You know, Doom's looking pretty good.
Skyrim, you have up there.
Right, Skyrim kind of that was pretty early. So so they're already going in that direction. So they could go further in that direction where it's really kind of a much more anonymous kind of off the shelf tech that everybody's using, and then it kind of levels the playing field. The sad part about that, of course, is you don't get the quirky you won't get the quirky kind of ness that you used to get, you know, in the consoles, where it would be like, oh, okay, the PS3, the cell processors like terrible to program for. It took years for them to get a handle on it. But when they did, PlayStation 3 games started looking better than Xbox 360 games, right? So that doesn't really happen anymore. I guess you can kind of pretty much figure out, you pretty much know the limits of this technology from day one, you know.
Yeah, good. Yeah, that's a very good point.
Yeah.
All right, so that's Nintendo. So what can we expect from Xbox with the Scarlet thing and with their xCloud and?
I think they're gonna kick some ass.
Game Pass.
Yeah, well, you know, everybody knows I'm an Xbox fan. I loved it from the first console.
The bulky
one. The bulky one, just to piss people off, and you can easily hack it and make it your XBMC.
It was awesome. Come on, Halo co-op.
It was
great. LAN co-op. Come on,
the user interface, like, and then you had the slides and stuff. I just loved it. Sorry, but Microsoft has the power to make xCloud work. And I think with Game Pass, that's going to be one hell of a company to beat.
Well, I think it's going to be, it could be Microsoft versus Google, right? In that respect. That could be the real fight.
Yeah.
And then, you know, so yeah, I think they're going to do well next generation. I can't see them not doing well. No. The unknown is price.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that has been such a decisive factor in the console generations. It's always been a factor that the most expensive console has sort of always kind of lost or struggled, right? Out of the gate. So I wonder what's going to happen there. There's fairly looking at the technology, you can imagine that Xbox One X was a step towards that, so they could get their manufacturing costs down and maybe the rest of it. And so it's kind of an evolution of the X Scarlet, so they can save some money and come out at a competitive price, right? That's really. And on the other hand, you know, to talk about Sony for a minute, I mean, PlayStation, there are these slightly worrying signs or rumors floating around about it being quite expensive, like hideously expensive.
Yeah, that must be bullshit.
It's not going to be 900. Is rubbish.
It's not going to be 900 plus.
No. I mean, but it could be 419. It could be the exact reverse of this generation.
Yeah. Well, and don't forget, Microsoft teased Anaconda and what was the other one? Lockhart. So a streaming console and a high-end console.
Yeah, that's true. They did.
So
they have an Xbox One without a DVD drive right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, the S, right?
So
the all-digital edition. Yeah. So, what happened? They didn't say a thing about that, though.
No, just put it out.
Did they go quiet about the sort of streaming thing? They didn't mention that, right, at E3? This E3?
No, they did. They're going to launch it at the end of this year. I think November. Microsoft, right?
What, a streaming only?
Well, not the console. The console is already out. You can buy the console.
No. I'm talking about the next generation. So the rumor is there'll be a streaming version of Scarlet, and there will be a
normal high end.
Right. Yeah. So the streaming version conceivably could be incredibly cheap.
Yeah.
Like €99 cheap,
probably,
or $149 or something like that. Or it could be just it's effectively just a controller and a little kind of USB kind of style stick.
You don't need anything,
right? So that's kind of interesting. But they didn't talk about that E3, right? No, that's what I was asking. Yeah, I kind of feel like they kind of went quiet on that, and that wasn't interesting because they just aren't quite ready to talk about it.
No,
and it'll be in the spring they'll start talking about it. Who will go first? That's interesting. Yep. That's always really interesting.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
So, interesting times coming up.
Interesting times, yeah, for sure.
Well, Simon, thank you for your time.
Yeah, you're welcome. Sorry, it was a very industry kind of analysis podcast.
I love it.
So hopefully I didn't bore everyone to tears.
No.
I do find this stuff fascinating. And,
we all do.
And I think it's kind of an amazing time right now, and a pretty great one, really. I can't remember a better time. I really can't. Like in terms of choice and quality and the rest of it.
Well, there was a generation, in our times when we had everybody had some sort of a gaming device, and we're talking the Sega and the Ataris and the Nintendos and
but
all the
quality now, man. In general,
I agree.
The level,
but I've seen so many console wars. So I'm enjoying this.
Yeah, it's pretty great. Yeah.
So where can we follow you on social media?
On Twitter, I'm _Simon_Cox, COX.
Cool.
Yeah.
Dennis, thanks.
No problem, man. It's a delight talking about this stuff.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on. This has been great.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And you can get back to speaking Dutch next week.
Ja.
Ja.
We'll do this again sometime.
Yeah, no worries.
Cool. Nou, bedankt voor het kijken. Vond je dit nou een dikke video? Laat even een comment achter. En laat vooral ook weten waar jij denkt dat de PlayStation 5 naartoe gaat, waar Xbox naartoe gaat met een nieuwe console, wat PC gaming gaat doen en welke rol Google Stadia gaat spelen. Wij zijn over 2 weken weer terug met een nieuwe Powerpraat en dan gaan we het hebben over de gamegeschiedenis in Nederland. Zie je dan. Yo!